All right, welcome back. We're here again working on the pool. During setup this year, we learned that the old sand filter thing had a hole in it. Once we pressurized it, one of the seams where it's manufactured split apart and sprayed out. So it did come inside. It did not sit outside and freeze or anything like that. So if you look in here, you can see it's just, I think this was just a defective one. See the goopiness of it here? It didn't get a good pour whenever they formed this. So anyway, I was looking at getting a replacement one of these, and it cost almost as much as an entire new pump sand filter setup. Okay, so, but our pump still works. So what I did was we ordered a, I don't know the brand. I'll put a picture of the ad or whatever we used to buy it, but we were able to get a whole new one, and if you look at it, it's a lot more capacity. And so what that means is it's going to work it don't have to work as hard to keep the pool clean. So the bigger capacity is better, and but this was plenty for the pool. This is a little bit built up, and the reason for that was they say when you're running all this extra stuff in line that it puts more stress on your pump, which of course we knew that if you watched the other videos when we were setting this up. The pump's been doing great though, so I'm not gonna put the pump that came with this one on just yet. I'm gonna run this pump until it dies. There's no point in taking a pump that works and throwing it in the garbage or whatever. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to replace this unit here with another brand's unit and show you that they can be mixed. They can be intermixed, and it does work. So, well, I haven't done it yet, but theoretically it should work. So come along with us and let's see if it'll actually work and be successful.
Smash Engineering.
First things first, it's called an Extreme Power. I just found the instruction manual, but since you're watching my YouTube channel, we're not gonna need that. Anyway, first things first. Well, I guess first things first, let's shut down our system here, because you probably can't hear me over the humming of this fan. Okay. It's a lot quieter now. That's temporary, just for testing purposes. This is not permanent. Those of you looking at that and going, what the heck? Yeah, it's fine. It's great. It's going to be great. All right, so first things first. I put this here just so I could get the pump and everything running, get it chlorinating. But obviously I bypassed the filter, filter housing. Would have been right here, but I rigged this up so that I could keep everything circulating and running, get the chlorinating going, get the chlorine generator going. But yeah, so this is just, ignore this, unless you need to do this, and then, which case you can. It's just a flow through, same as if you had that on flow through. So first things first, we're gonna need to turn off our system so that when I open this up, it's not gonna come spraying water everywhere. So if you built yours like I built mine in the last video, you'll have these shutoff valves. So you'll turn these to full shutoff like that. And then this one here, you'll shut off like this. And now you're only gonna get the residual amount of water coming out when we open it up. So when I take this apart, very little water is gonna come out instead of just spraying water everywhere. Okay, so very little water. Okay, so then I'll set these aside. Take this off as well. I had to use some weird seal. I had to do this on this because it wouldn't hook up to it otherwise, because this O-ring doesn't contact anything inside the hose. So it worked though. Remember, it's not wrong if it works. One of my mottos here on the channel. Might not be the right tool, but it's not the wrong tool if it gets the job done. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, when you get your extreme power sand filter, it comes without the drain in it. Why? I don't know. So one of the things you're going to have to do, and I'll show you a video. Some of you like things, like to see, oh, right here. Okay, the drain assembly goes on like this. So from the inside, you have a rubber gasket. Then on the outside, you have, looks like a nut and then a cap. So we'll open this up. We got our O-ring there, our gasket, whatever we call it, another gasket, our cap, our actual housing, and I imagine this goes in the cap. Yep. So this will come from the inside. Don't forget to first put your gasket on there, and then we'll put it in from the inside like that, and then we'll hold it with one hand, and we'll put the outside gasket on, and then our nut. I like to get a little water on these so that they slip a little better while you're tightening them. And I'm gonna tighten that by hand. It's just rubber O-ring or rubber gaskets that are getting smashed down. It doesn't have to be reefed down or nothing. And then, of course, I'll show it again. You got the cap, you got your gasket here. That gasket's gonna go in there like that, and then on there like that. Now, I like this drain way better than this little one that came on here. This takes forever and it dribbles out as if you're pushing it out through a syringe. So this seems like a nicer setup. Okay, just like we did with that one, we're gonna go ahead and use the filter balls again. I know that a lot of you said I didn't make another video about these. Let me just tell you, I didn't make a video about them because they're amazing. I didn't have any issues with them. So there's still some in there. I do recommend if you wash them in the
laundry washing machine.
Washing machine, yeah, sorry. I kept wanting to say dishwasher, but if you wash them in your laundry machine, use a delicate bag or a delicates bag. Some of those did shred and come apart, and that's probably our fault. It's on us for not having them separated into bags good enough. So we went ahead and ordered some new ones just so that this fresh system can just start fresh. So we got our new filter balls here, and then this is the top for the new setup here. So it comes with, just like the other one, if you watch the video on the setup on the other one, it comes with one of these, because the last thing you want to do is get these balls inside of this. You don't want that. So this goes on top of that to keep that from happening, and then this whole thing goes down in here like that. And then have your parents open the bag for you. And these will, I don't know if you can hear that, they'll expand. That. And then puff them up a little bit. So that's what they'll look like. They're like glorified cotton balls, but don't use cotton balls. These are not actually cotton balls, but they look like, ooh. They look like cotton balls. We'll just pretend like that didn't happen. All right, so we'll go ahead and fill that up. So yeah, if you feel like you're gonna get some inside of there, use this. I don't wanna use it because I'm a rebel like that. So what I'm gonna do is hold my hand over that, and this gives me way more room to actually get these in there. It doesn't take nearly as long. So we'll go ahead and load that up. And for those of you thinking, you know, that this is too big of a job for you, it's really not. I will explain later, in case you don't watch my whole video, you cannot use the hosing that comes with it. I don't know why they sent this with it. It doesn't fit on itself. So I don't know what you would do normally with this, but I have a fix for it, and it's a great one, and it's cheap, and it's easy, and it keeps all your hoses consistent with the ones we already used, which I trust this style hose much more than I trust whatever this thing is. I don't like it at all. So stay tuned. There is more technical stuff in this video to come. Don't just be bored because I'm doing this. I'm probably not going to use fast forward feature on this. I'm also terribly sorry. I haven't put out many videos lately. I did just release one today, and if you're watching this, today is Mother's Day. So all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. And even if you don't have children, a lot of the women in my life that I know are moms to other people's children. They do the community thing, so that's great. So we take a moment out to celebrate all the moms in our life. Looks like this is going to take the whole 3 pounds. All right, make sure they're evenly distributed in there. And then there's a line. There'll be a line in this one. Okay, there's a line in most of them. You basically want it about 75% of the way full, which looks like it's going to be about this entire bag. This is a much larger capacity than the original, which also means lower pressures overall. So just like when I was showing in my video how I hard piped this, I calculated the sizing of the pipe to be about a 1/2 inch larger than what I required, and that was to keep the overall back pressure low. Ooh, don't do that. To keep the overall back pressure lower, which then reduces the stress on not only the pump, but the entire system. So we've inserted all of our filter balls, except for the ones that ran away. Did one run away somewhere? All right. So then, the other thing too, is you want to make sure this is centered, because when you install all of this, you'll have 2 halves like this. And your pressure gauge. And your bolts. And your thread sealer. And then you'll have the issue I was talking about, which is after you install this piece, okay, so this big O-ring goes right up on here. Make sure you don't forget to put that on there. Okay. These are what comes with it. And I really don't like that this is the way they did it, but you know, teach their own. So when on the smaller pump, it uses I don't know what this is called, 40 millimeter, I don't know, whatever it is. It uses that. On this, it wants you to use this flex hose to go down to the pump. So this would bend down to the pump, and that'd be your feed line. So you're feeding it with these, look at this, that's how much smaller it is. It literally fits inside of it. So you're feeding the pump with a large diameter hose, which if you see what I was talking about, it's actually larger than the pump needs, but that keeps the work on the pump or the pressure on the pump low. So it wants you to use these, and it wants you to fit these over top of this, which they don't. Like even if you're coming at an angle, they don't fit over it. They're not flexible, and so I don't understand what the concept there was. Not bashing the company, might have been just an oversight, whatever. But the cool thing is they made it threaded. So if you installed this heat pump, you'll know that it also had threaded fittings in the front of it, and you can choose what fittings you use. So I went back and looked at those, and I found that, and I'll put hope I remember to do all this. I'll put the picture of where I got what these are called and what they are. They're 40 millimeter to 1.5 pool adapters. So, and that doesn't mean anything to anyone because I know it didn't mean anything to me. You get more thread sealant. But these are what are inside here. So what you can do, which is awesome, you can drop it in the sand. That's always a great way, especially when you're making a video for people. But you get all the sand off. You can thread this in there like that. And then you can thread this in there like that. And what you've done is converted it to mimic this exact, see, this one came from the factory with the threads right on it. I love this. I love that they did that. This is probably more adaptable, but they don't tell you on there like what to buy to adapt it to anything. So I had to find this, and I saved you the trouble of finding which one it is. And like I said, I'll put the link to that. But this is the major part of this video that's going to keep you floating, keep you in business here. And these will let you use pretty much any sand filter with the setup, because you need, if you've set it up like I have, you need the I don't know if these are 1.5 inch hosing to plug it all in. So let's go ahead and we'll take these off so I don't forget, because you got to put thread lock or this stuff on the threads. Although it does have an O-ring, these O-rings, take it from me, they don't last very long. This hasn't been installed for very long, and they're already dry rotting, the O-rings are. So I had to replace the O-rings on it this year when I set everything back up. So don't just trust the O-ring. It probably would work just fine for a long time, but it will eventually leak. So it's best to seal the threads as well as use the O-ring. I guess I didn't show it, but this, let's get this one out of the way, because we're done with that one. You're done. You're done. All right. So this has a kind of a sloped or coned, we're going to call it concave, and that's where this will go. So hold that kind of centered. You can kind of watch it go in there. Now you got your O-ring on there, so that's going to go down like that. The other thing you're going to want to think about is your placement. So I want my drain to be in the front here where it's accessible. So I'm going to put it like this. I'm going to take this out so I don't forget that I didn't thread lock it. So I want it like that. That'll be front. And then if you read on here, it says pump right there. And then one will say pool, and one will say like waste or something. Yeah, waste. And this is your, when it means waste, it means like if you're flushing it. So on this one, this was the waste. I don't think they called it waste on there, but it's the waste. It's going to dump it outside the pool. And for that port, I have no problem using one of these, because we're going to hook that to a garden hose or something anyway and run it away from the area. So that one is just fine being that one. Doesn't bug me at all. So if I want that in the front, we're coming from the pump, we'll need to, okay, so we'll take this and we're going to put this on the threads. And if you do it the right way, when you go to thread it in, it doesn't go. So, or it doesn't peel it off. So if you do this the wrong way as you thread it in, the threads are going to push on it like that. So the way to do it is not, you want it to end with the piece facing this way. So you actually have to start it, threads facing towards you, threading it to the right, like that, okay? And you wrap it around until you reach the beginning, and then it holds itself like that. And then you just do like 2 or 3 wraps around. Don't need a ton. You do too much, you won't be able to thread it on or off for that matter. Okay, so when you get to the end, you just give it a pull. Now if you look, my end, right? The end, if I wanted to peel this up, I'd push this way. See how it peeled it up? I want it to be pushed into the threads. So now, as I do this, drop it in the sand again. Okay, bear with me. All right, so now I'm gonna take a little bit of water just to give it, kind of lubricate it a little bit. Now as I thread it in there, it's not peeling that off so much as it's pushing it into the threads. So we'll do that. Do the same thing on this one. Threads towards me, wrap to the right, and temporarily You're a rapper. Okay. That. Make sure you got this all on here. And we're going to install this one on there. Now, feeling how loose this goes in here, you could probably do about 7-8 wraps around it. I'm used to using that on metal. It doesn't take much, but if these leak, you can always add more. The other thing we need to do now is remove this plug. Okay. If your pool filter is somewhere where you can't read this, then don't even worry about it. But this thread's in there. So again, we're going to threads towards us. We're going to put some thread sealant on here. Making sure to not cover the inlet there. Try to keep it as flat as possible. I don't know what's going on here. It's not cooperating because I'm recording it, of course. But you want to keep it flat and even. And then push it down by hand, and then you thread this in there. Should end about actually perfect, just like that. Okay. This is just more of an indicator, like a troubleshooting indicator. If you're having issues, that'll tell you. All right, now last but not least is the seal here. So you take both these halves, stick it on like this, and then you're gonna need your bolt kit, a screwdriver, and preferably like an adjustable wrench or something that you can fit in there. I got pliers here that I'll use. Here's all of our hardware. Now granted, you're only using 2 of these because the other 2 are to bolt the pump down to the base. So don't tighten this one all the way up, because you'll do the same thing on this side. And if you tighten that all the way up, it pulls this apart and then you won't have enough threads here to get it started. So we'll tighten these down evenly. We'll get them about the same, and then you want to tighten it down at least even. Okay, so now we got that tight. Don't use the small ones, remember, use the longer ones. You can tell that these would barely have worked. So there's four small ones with the kit and 2 long ones. The long ones go for this. Already getting dirty. All right, so now we need the gaskets. So these gaskets come with this. They go on here. Okay, so it might be harder to see. Oh, the other thing is, if you do have this style pump, you got to remove this piece. And this is just going to sit right next to it. Will not be a problem. So now, because of these adapters, this is going to thread right on how it did with the old setup. So hold that. Make sure you hold your seal right where it needs to be. Then start threading this on. That way you know your seal is where it needs. Okay. And then once we have the angle there, we'll tighten this one. Make sure you have your valve on filtration, so that way when you go to kick it on, it's not working. Same thing here. I'm gonna set the seal on there like that. Line it up. Got a little bit of water, residual water coming out of the hose. All right. So now, theoretically, we have installed this brand's filter element with this pool pump. Okay, this pump is I think it's like 0.4 horsepower. The pump that comes with this one is a 0.75, so it's a little stronger. This one still runs just perfect, and so I figured instead of most people, when something goes wrong with the pair, they just throw it away. And you know, here on the channel, we don't like doing that. There's really nothing in this that goes bad over time, really, if you take care of it. That old one went bad because of a defect, or say you did leave it outside full of water and it froze and cracked. Your pump might still be good, but this thing will be bad. So this is also a repair video if you left this full of water and it cracks on you. My recommendation always is to have fittings like this where you can drain it here. At the end of the year, take your fittings off, take it in the house, put it in your basement, put it in somewhere that stays heated, but still drain it, okay? And then also take your pool balls out, let them dry, throw them through the washer, and then keep them in your little baggie next to it, so that way, beginning of this year, they're not moldy and they're ready to go. All right, so before we fire it up, I want to obviously open up these, and this is going to let us know, it's just going to put residual pressure on everything. It's going to let us know if there's any leaks. If there are leaks, it doesn't necessarily mean you did anything wrong. It could just be something not quite lined up. Okay, we're taking a look here. I don't see any leaks just yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime up the system, which means I'm gonna pressurize it with the pump, and then I'll probably shut it off again and take a look at everything. We did open both those, right? Trying to see here. Okay, that's primed it up. I'll go ahead and most important thing will be now to check if there's pressure coming out into the pool. So I'm just going to stick my hand. Obviously we can hear it, but I can feel that there's pressure coming out. That means none of our valves are closed. Nothing's in the way blocking it. And now the most important thing is to watch everything. Look for leaks. If you look right here, I have a leak. I have a really slow leak here. I don't know if you can pick that up or not. So what I'm going to do now is just tighten these a little bit. Now, I don't like over tighten any of these. I tighten them hand tight and then I fire it up. If it doesn't leak, it's great. If it has a little drip, you can go a little tighter on it, and sometimes that fixes the problem. But you never want to start off as tight as they'll go, because there's just no point. So we'll clean that, and we'll continue to watch for leaks. Nothing's leaking here. That looks good. Nothing's leaking here. That looks good. And of course, you always want to play with electrical stuff right near the water, because that's really not safe. So don't do that. This is how I do it, always. This is how I do things. I'm not saying this is the 100% right way. I'm not saying it's the safe way. So do everything at your own risk, always. But this is how I would do things. That's what this channel is about. And that's what I do here. So now that we have a steady amount of pressure, you also want to watch for your pump to be cavitating. If this is a bunch of bubbles in here, that means you're not getting enough water into it. So that means you have a blockage or a leak somewhere else upstream. So you got your water coming in, you got everything pumping through this, you have it on filtration, it's now going out this into the heater. I'm gonna wait till there's no air. I can still hear air gurgling through this. I'm gonna wait till there's no air in it to turn on the rest of the system. But it looks like we're in business. So that's how you'll swap from the Best Way style filter to this one. If any of you do know where to just get just the bucket part of this, let me know, because this is not junk. I did start having issues with this leaking out the waste area, but I just put a cap on that and it wasn't, wasn't a major issue. I'm sorry, I think, yeah, right here. I put this cap on it because it started to leak out the waste thing. Even though this was on filtration, it started to leak out the waste side. So I don't know if anyone else has had issues with that, but if you do, what you can do is just put a cap on that, put a seal and a cap on it, and then it's not an issue. And then if you need to pump through there, you just take that off and use it like normal. So make sure if you're gonna do this, you get your adapters. And I need these other two adapters for the actual pump that came with this. The other two adapters will adapt the pump to accept these style hoses. All right, so thanks for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Remember to help your neighbor, find someone in need, give them a helping hand, and stay safe, and I hope you have a wonderful day.